Welcome back, everybody. The first thing I want to address is that there's going to be a couple of differences in this video and in all the future videos than the last few, because they were my first video, and now I'm starting to actually get the hang of what this is like. So the main difference is that I've got music playing from my other computer over here. And the really nice thing about that is that I'm hoping it will cover over the drone of the Beast, which is the computer that unfortunately my webcam is on, and so it is the computer that you guys have to hear every time I decide to do something. The other difference is that I am physically a little bit closer to the camera, and this isn't so that you can see my face better or anything. No, that's because I had a couple of complaints that the sound was just too weak on the last few videos, and that people couldn't hear my voice. And so I'm attempting to alleviate this by getting physically closer to my web camera. Today I'm going to read for you a story that was written for my English class. This was actually based on a true story, a real experience that happened to me. And I didn't mess around with any of the actual events at all. The only changes I made was writing it as the way we're writing a fiction book. I also went in and out of dream sequence in this story in a way that very much makes it seem like fiction. But the story is about a thunderstorm, which actually happened a couple of years ago now. Up in Washington, there was heat lightning, which is very unusual for that part of the country. So I'm going to read it to you now, and I hope that you enjoy it. It is called Losing the Battle. I was there when the revolution struck. I should have been prepared. I'd spent my entire childhood being prepared. At the influence of my paranoid ex-soldier stepfather, I kept a packed bag by my bedroom door, ready for when society collapsed. My mother was a whimsical woman, skeptical but allowing her husband his delusions. She was naturally nervous anyhow, too tired from raising a child too early in life. As I got older, I grew away from them. I trusted in the system. I was no longer prepared. The summer that it happened, I was visiting my parents in their tiny apartment, nestled in the hills outside of Tacoma, Washington. That day had been hot, the hottest on record, and that night there was a thunderstorm. It was far away at first, lulling me to sleep. The battle started that night. The air was thick with the shouts of soldiers and the blasts from cannons. I stood in the fray, frantically searching for my family. As the gun smoke cleared, I saw a lobster in red aim his cannon and fire. The blast shook the ground beneath the blue-coated army. As the cannonball struck my stomach, an alarm went off. Waking from my dream, I realized that it was a fire alarm. I pushed the family dog from my stomach, where he had jumped, and grabbed a blanket, making my way towards the door. Outside, the sky flashed all the colors that lightning shouldn't be. It formed the eyes of an angry and ancient god forgotten by all of civilization. I remember that the asphalt was wet and curiously warm on my bare feet as I made my way for the relative safety of my mother's car. The dog and I climbed into the back seat of my mother's Subaru and watched through the fogged windows as my neighbors gathered in the parking lot. Like their ancestors before them, they huddled together, staring at the skies in awe. My parents were there then, the formidable soldier marching his vulnerable and flustered wife to the relative safety of the beat-up old Subaru. We hurried from the scene, out into the streets of the city. It seemed that every light in every building was on, and yet no one was around. Every car that we passed was parked and still, or worse yet, crashed and burning. I knew, as I stared at the deserted streets, that my stepfather had been right all along. I hadn't listened to him, and now it was far too late. We were refugees fleeing from the cataclysmic formation of a new republic. Lost and without destination, we turned a corner at random. The otherworldly lights of the city ended abruptly, giving way into a wall of blackness, where the hills began. Bursts of orange from brush fires and burning buildings dotted that darkness. As that burning hell approached, I tried to call out to my parents, to make them turn, but the sound would not come. Giving up, I closed my eyes. I stood now before a firing squad, prepared to become a martyr for my cause. As I released my last sweet breath, I cursed the day that the revolution began. When I opened my eyes, we had turned into the parking lot of a 24-hour death. We hurried to the door, huddled together like a pack of scared animals. The entire restaurant turned and looked at us as we entered. The harried waitress crammed us into one side of the booth, as the other side was occupied by another family. We were served coffee and toast on the house, and talking was kept to a bare minimum out of respect for the late hour. As I stared out at the raging storm, I knew that this diner was the last of rebels against a new order. And though we had lost the battle, I knew that in the end we would win the war. So that's the story. And as I said, it's all true. With the whole blue and red army thing at the beginning there, I had dreamt of the American Revolution. And so it was quite intense. The sounds of the thunder and the flashes of lightning against my eyelids while I was having this dream of a battle. So that's that. And I really hope that you enjoyed it, because it was a lot of fun to write. And certainly it remains one of my favorite pieces that I've written. So love you all. Bye bye.